Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Rob.
And this is Ask Rob and Rob.
Welcome to Ask Rob and Rob. It's Tuesday. That means we've got 2 more questions and 2 more answers. We're going to get to those questions in just a sec. But first, a reminder, Rob, of how people can send in questions of their own.
We make this very, very easy. You just go to one place. And that place is propertyhub.net/ask. That's propertyhub.net/ask. There, you can directly leave a message, or you can access our telephone number and give us a call and leave a voicemail there, or you can even type away and get your question over to us that we may answer in the Sunday Times, because we also answer property questions every Sunday in the Sunday Times. So you've got lots of options, whichever you choose, we do not mind. But today, Jamie has chosen to get on the audio version, so let's have a listen to his question.
Hi, Rob and Rob. I'm Jamie, and firstly, I just want to thank you for taking the time to answer my questions. I love listening to your podcast and my commute. It's been a great source of insight and motivation. Myself and my partner started our property investment journey last year, but right now it feels like we're taking 1 step forward and 2 steps back. Therefore, I would really appreciate your advice. We currently rent in the southeast of England, where both house prices and rent are extremely high, making it difficult to save. However, in the past year, we have managed to save £15,000 for a deposit. We're determined to buy property this year. However, we don't have a great deal of confidence on any areas near us that we can afford that will offer a strong investment potential, unless there's any areas in the southeast you could recommend to us. Our plan, therefore, to get on a property ladder is to look further afield in places such as Manchester or Derby, where property prices are more reasonable. We also have the borrowing power and deposit to secure a residential mortgage in one of these areas, ideally on a property that we can renovate to add value. Our long-term goal is, once we have built enough equity in the property, is to remortgage it onto an appropriate mortgage product where we can then look to run it as a serviced accommodation. However, we are facing some challenges. One of those challenges is getting a residential mortgage approved for a property far away from where we currently live at work. However, my partner only needs to be in the office 3 days a month, and the rest of the time she's working from home. This makes commuting from Manchester or Derby more viable, and hopefully the lender will then approve a mortgage. So therefore, we're looking to purchase our first property under her name. However, my job ties me to the southeast, meaning that while she can commute to and from Manchester, I will need to remain in the southeast until I find a new job where our first property purchases and start living there, which means initially paying for both a mortgage and high rent at the same time. We feel very lost with this, so therefore, how would you both navigate this if you were in our shoes? And also in property investment, when does it start getting easier? Thank you very much.
Hey, Jamie, thank you for your question, and congrats of getting that pot together and having that strong desire to start investing. So I am going to answer your question directly, but then I'm going to question your strategy right now in the hope that it gives you something to think about and other people listening as well. So let's start by answering your question. If you're not using a mortgage broker already, then speak to a mortgage broker who can present your case hopefully a little more strongly. So that would be the approach I would take. I'm not saying it will then be possible, but if you have an experienced broker, they may have travelled this path before and have the experience of knowing what to say and how to say it to lenders. The fact that one of you is prepared to live in the property may give you that chance. Of course, if neither of you were willing to live there, then I think you were on very shaky ground and you'd really struggle to make this work. But it will be a challenge. So my next suggestion is somewhere in between of adapting your strategy, not changing your strategy. So the adaptation you could possibly take here is look at different areas. There are areas which are fast commutes to the southeast and London. So for example, Rugby is an area that's just 50 minutes on the train to London. A very easy commute. In fact, it can take longer to get across London than get from Rugby. And Rugby has strong fundamentals and possibly has the pricing level that would allow you to both live there and then deliver on that strategy. And there are other places as well, like Northampton. You can type into Google or your favourite AI bot, what are places within 1 hour of London? There are maps that you can do as well, and you can type in, the commute time you're willing to make, and you can see dotted across the UK map of how far away from London you can get, say an hour. So that's another way, another approach you can look at it. But actually, now I've given you a direct answer, a hybrid answer, and I want to challenge you all together. £15,000, I think, based on any area that you're looking at, would be the majority of your money, the deposit, like you said. which would leave very little to do a refurb. Now, for you to do a refurb and then move on, you're going to need to make a decent profit. And that's because your next property will be a buy-to-let, and then you'll need to put more money down. Now, you either put more money down or you turn your existing property into a buy-to-let, which means you have to tie more equity up. But either way, you are going to have to do some significant uplift in value to make that work. And that would normally mean a significant contribution or capital investment into the property. And it doesn't sound like you have that. Painting a place, doing basic refurbs isn't going to give you the uplift in value that you need. Also, it sounds like you're both time poor. But you're not mentioning it, but you also haven't said if you have the right skills to go and do a refurb project. If you do, great, that's fantastic. But if you are poor on time and you're living far away from where you work, you'll have less time after commuting. It will make a refurb difficult to deliver. So the lack of funds will make it hard, but also the strategy will make it hard as well, even if you had funds to do a major project. And finally, it is a risky strategy. It gives the potential for the most upside, which you've clearly identified, and that's what you want to do. But also, there's downside. Not only could you not make money, but you could lose money and lose it on paper anyway. That the amount you invest in, you don't even get back from the value uplift. And particularly if you're new to this, which you are, that risk is heightened because it's new and you haven't got the experience and the lessons and the pain. Of course, you have to do something to get those lessons and that experience and pain. That's why having experience in refurbs or similar experience is really helpful here. Now, I'm not trying to rain on your parade. I'm not trying to say don't get started, but maybe the solution is to build that pot a little more. Take that time out. Don't sit in a property that actually isn't really giving you what you want and not allowing you to do what you want to do medium, long term, but go at it a slightly different way. If you're committed to doing a refurb, still build that pot. But maybe there's another way that you can approach this as well. It will depend on your goals. I can't tell you the way to do it. It will depend on what you want to do and how you want to do it. But I would seriously give a great deal of thought to implementing this strategy. I appreciate the thought of starting is very attractive, and often Rob and I do talk about just get started, but get started with the right thing. So take that time to reflect on it, Jamie. I hope you come to the right conclusions, and wherever you do, I wish you the best of luck.
Great advice there for Jamie. Let's see what we can do for Mark.
Hi, Rob and Rob. Mark here. I hope all's well with you guys. I've got, I think, 1.5 questions about changes with the Renters Reform Bill coming in. We've got 2 properties, one of which we bought as a buy-to-let and one of which is a property where we become accidental landlords. It was our family home. We're keen to move back into our family home. In fact, we need to move back into our family home early next year. Now, our concern is if the tenants drag their heels in terms of leaving the property. Currently, we're able to use a Section 21, but if they delay and the legislation then changes, does that then mean, even if we go through the right hoops, say in January, February, March, if legislation changes, does that actually also change their legal position if they've hung on in the property and not moved out? So that's the first question. The second question, sort of following on from that, is if the answer to that is yes, do we then actually need to get them to move as quickly as possible? Hope you might be able to help. Please. Thanks ever so much. Keep up the good work. Take care.
Mark, thank you for your question. I can understand why you've got this concern. You need to move back into your home and you're not sure if you'll be able to do it. So let's see if we can help you out. So the first thing to say is that once this new legislation does come in, you will still be guaranteed to be able to get your home back to move into, even though there's no such thing as a no-fault, air quotes, eviction, and tenancies will be indefinite. Moving back into a home yourself is a valid reason. The difference is the amount of notice you'll need to give is longer. It'll be 4 months rather than 2. And of course, if they decide to stay put and you have to go through the courts, then the court process could be longer if the whole thing turns out to be as overwhelming for the court system as you'd assume it would be. But of course, this hasn't happened yet, and we don't know quite when it is going to happen, and we don't know when the implementation date is going to be. But if you've already served notice, by the time that happens, then that will not invalidate the notice that you've served. So if you serve a Section 21 notice now, and then in a month's time, suddenly, boom, this law comes into effect, it will not mean that that all gets ripped up and you have to start again. What I will say is that even with things as they are now, a Section 21 is far from a guarantee that you'll be able to get your property back at a particular time. Because even if the paperwork goes off to the court, they rubber stamp it, no need to turn up, all very simple. If the tenant doesn't move out, then you still need to apply for a possession order. You still need to wait for a bailiff visit potentially, and you have no idea when that's going to happen. So even now, it puts you in a difficult position in this kind of situation. Because if you're going like, okay, well, we're currently renting somewhere else, that ends on this date, so we want to move back into a home on that date, you can't have any certainty that that will be possible. So I've given you all the factual legal stuff, but I think the most important thing to do here is to have good communication with your tenants and be really clear with them about what your plans are. Obviously, if they're minded to just stay there and completely ignore all of that, there is not a great deal you can do about it, and then you have to fall back on the legal side. But I think the best thing you can do is have an open line of communication, make them aware of your intentions in advance so none of this comes as a surprise, and you're giving them the maximum amount of time to start thinking about their plans and make alternative arrangements. So, Mike, I hope that helps, and good luck.
So that's just done for another week. Thank you for listening, and hopefully you will join us again on Thursday for the Property Podcast. And if you're really keen, you'll be opening the pages of the Sunday Times on Sunday to see us answering your questions there. Until those wonderful events take place, take care, have fun, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.